Hi, this video is part of my complete Helm course. The link is in the description of this video, so make sure to give a thumbs up, and if you don't want to miss any updates, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's get started. Hello and welcome back. In this lecture, we will set up our GitHub repository as well as GitHub Pages for us to publish our chart in a publicly accessible URL. So in GitHub, create a new repository here. We're not going to select any template, just select the relevant owner here. And I'm just going to call mine helm-charts like so. The description here, we can say repository to host Helm charts created during courses, and I'm going to mark this as a public repository. Now that's important because GitHub Pages is not available by default to private repositories except if you are in a paid plan. So we're going to go with public repositories. We're going to add a README file. We're going to skip the .gitignore here, and we're going to choose a permissive license. Let's just go with MIT license like so. Let's then click on Create Repository, and we should then be redirected to this page here containing the Helm charts, the name of the repository, and the description. For us to enable GitHub Pages, we need to come here to the settings. So let's click here on the additional navigations, or if you can see settings here, that's also fine. Just click here on settings. Let's scroll down here. On the left side, you will find Pages on the left side menu. You can click here. And let's scroll down a little bit here until we see the source option. We're going to deploy from a branch. So we can just deploy here from a branch. And then let's select the main branch. That's the branch that gets created by default in our repository whenever we create it. Let's then click on save. You also have the option of publishing under just the root directory or the /docs. I'm just going to leave the root directory like so. And let's click on save. Once we do that here, we should, under the Actions tab, eventually see a new action triggered to build and deploy our pages. As you can see, this is already under progress. We're just going to wait until this completes, and we will come back in a few seconds. Awesome. So after a couple of seconds here, about 20 seconds for me, you will see here that there is this link available. Let's just click here and you will see that this will be redirected to a new HTML page, and this just contains the contents here of our root directory, or of our repository, not of our root directory, but of our README in our repository. So the README page here is published under the root level of this link here. That means we can then leverage these pages, these GitHub pages here, to publish our charts and make them available to the public. Let's then just do that. From this repository here, we're going to clone this locally. I'm going to use SSH. If you wish to use HTTPS, that's also perfectly fine. So I'm just going to copy this link here, and in the terminal, I'm going to clone this repository. Now, it's important here that you are cloning this to a directory that is not inside another Git repository. For me here so far in the course, let's change here to code. So far in the course, the entire code directory is a Git repository. That means I cannot clone inside of the code here, and you can see these are the folders we have been using so far. So I'm just going to go one directory up here, and you will see now the Git main doesn't show up for me anymore. So there is just the Helm directory, and I'm going to clone this with git clone. I'm going to clone this next to the code repository. So now here we have two independent repositories. We have the code and we have the Helm charts. Right, this is important here to make sure that there is no overlap of Git repositories, and Git and GitHub don't get confused. So if you have initialized a Git repository in the directory where you are implementing the code files or the course files, just make sure to clone this new repository outside of this existing Git repository. All right, so now we have here, let's have a look at what we have inside of code. We have both creating charts and setting values. And I believe that our packaged chart is inside of the creating charts here. Perfect. This is here. We're now going to copy this from our code /creating charts /nginx -0.1.0.tgz. We're going to move that into our Helm charts folder. We can now change into the Helm-charts folder, And we can confirm here, if we list everything that we have, we can confirm that our nginx archive file is present here. The last thing I would like to do before committing and pushing the changes to our remote GitHub repository is to index this entire folder. So we can run the Helm repo index like so, and this will generate a YAML file. We're just missing here the current directory. This will generate an index.yaml file containing information about all the charts that are available in this directory here. If we now clear the screen and we cat the contents of our index.yaml file, then you will see here that we have the information of our chart that we have just included in the chart.yaml file. This is also something that we should include in our Helm repository, so it's important to generate this index file whenever we publish new charts. So now here we can have a look at the status. We have just two files that we have added, both the index.yaml and the archive file for our nginx chart. We can just add everything in this directory, and then let's commit here, and let's say for the message, we're just going to say feature nginx, publish nginx chart version 0.1.0. We can now push these changes to the remote repository, and you will see that after everything is pushed here, it will also be published in our GitHub pages. Back in the GitHub page here for our Helm Charts repository, you can see that a new action has been triggered. Let's then click here. Let's expand the number 2 here, and you will see that it's now building as well as deploying our updated contents into our GitHub pages. We can once again come back here to our link. So I already have it open. If you have closed it, you can just click it here. And if we now try to retrieve the index.yaml file, you will see that this will actually open the index file that was generated for us. The same thing here, we can download our nginx-0.1.0.tgz archive. This is perfectly valid, and that's how actually Helm downloads and installs the charts for us. You will see that the moment I run that, it's a little bit small here, but the download is just here on the top right corner. And we have successfully published our nginx chart to the entire world to use it. That's amazing. We would now definitely like to use this and see how it's going to work in our local machine. But before that, let's take a short break and I'll see you in the next lecture.